All right. Well, let's try restream out for a little bit. Hello there, everybody. I'm Brent, SeazndMedic. Yesterday's coffee chat was less than stellar. Yeah, I wanted it to go a little bit better, but just wasn't going well. Yeah. So let me close a few things down. I just wanted to make sure that this was actually working. It's going out to Twitch and to YouTube and to Mixer. I tried to get it to go to Facebook, but it kept wanting to go to my personal page and not the other page, and I don't want to pay for that. You know, not the season pay for that. But there were some pretty good questions. 2 of them came from my wife, so, you know, that's all right. Let's go to try to find them. From yesterday. All right. So let's see. The first one was, how do you suggest someone explain how that they have PTSI, post-traumatic stress injury, also known as PTSD? And I said it's difficult to describe because hopefully this is still going okay. It was a second ago. Said, how do you suggest you explain to someone that you have PTSD or PTSI? First of all, my take and kind of the emerging take on PTSI versus PTSD. PTSI is post-traumatic stress injury. It is being thought as it's a reoccurring injury, or it's an injury that can reoccur. A disorder is something that's not overcomable, that it's always there, and it's always going to be the same degree of badness. I don't know how else to describe that. Let me get some more sunlight in here, maybe. Well, I think that post-traumatic stress injury is more accurate as far as is a description, because it can reoccur again. If you have good coping mechanisms, and mindfulness is one of those coping mechanisms, you can tell when things are going to start to spiral down, and you can actually minimize or stop the spiral. So to me, that's helping to overcome, and it's not just a disorder that one person is born with and it stays with them, and it's the same degree of negativity or badness or whatever for the entire time. But anyway, my answer was, it's difficult to describe because it's different for everyone. I have anxiety and depression, so mine is mainly explaining the more anxious I get, the more nightmares I have, and the less sleep I get, and sleep is less restful. The worse it gets, the more I want to isolate, so then it starts to feed into the depression that I also have. So it's not wanting to be in bed, but not having the motivation or drive to get out of bed. More explaining as we go along. It's a very complicated question. We could go for hours on that. So my personal take is that your brain is so complex and you can experience a unknown magnitude of emotional responses to things. But your body can only do so many things to respond to those responses. It can speed your heart up. It can slow it down. It can, your body can sweat. It can shunt blood from your extremities to your core, thinking that it needs to save your heart and your brain. So when someone is feeling anxiety, it's also the same fight or flight response that you're feeling when you need to protect yourself or protect others. And so your heart rate increases, your pupils dilate, trying to take in all of the escape routes, all of the danger threats that might be nearby. You kind of get a little bit sweaty, but also a little bit clammy at the same time, because you're shunting some blood away from your extremities to your core to facilitate more oxygen carrying capability so that you can have bursts of energy to run to save yourself. So when you're having a panic attack, you're having that fight or flight response, and it can be overwhelming to where you can't focus on the needs that you have right at that time. It can be worsened by, or it can be brought on by, say, a flashback. Your mind recognizes a situation that you've been in before, and if it was a traumatizing event, you might play those events back in the forefront of your mind. And some people kind of disassociate real time versus past time. And we've seen the stereotypical flashbacks from movies, and they're not all like that. But sometimes you do transpose, I see this event happening now and it's very similar to this other one, and your body starts to have that response. And the memories flood back, and you're having all those same emotions and experiences. And if you haven't been able to deal with those emotions and have been just repressing them, this is your brain's time to say, hey, let's pay attention to this. We recognize what we've had in the past, and we didn't deal with it then. So, hey, though it's an inconvenient time, let's deal with it right now. Okay? So that's my anxiety response. So even though I've worked for 30 plus years in emergency services, out and about, in publics, in crowds, now I have this panic response sometimes, and it gets a little overwhelming sometimes, even when you go to like the grocery store, or you're at a park and then there's a sudden influx of people. So my brain goes back into that protection mode. And I've always had it to some degree, for varying reasons. Like I said, I do have some flashbacks. Usually don't have them wakingly, except for just totally unexpected. I get blindsided sometimes by them if I'm super stressed, or there's something going on in the background that I'm not dealing with. And then my brain will say, well, if you're not going to deal with this one, let's slip this other one underneath it, and maybe we can deal with this because we haven't dealt with it to my liking. So, yeah, that's this panic response. It's totally frustrating at times, because I realize I'm an intelligent person. I am a very big guy. I'm 6'2". I am 280 pounds most of the time. After all of this isolation plus my regular isolation, I I probably am even heavier than that. But let's not talk about that. The I know that there's not very many people out there that are out there to get me. And there's not very many people that are going to be able to harm me, but yet my body still has that same response. And so I have to be able to recognize when that's happening and be able to ground myself. And these are all terms that you learn in mental health, and you realize that some of these terms are used in other philosophies like yoga, where meditation is something that has been stereotypical, but it's been around for centuries, and it is really a way of grounding yourself to the here and now. And really, its primary function is to focus you in on where you are, that you're still breathing, that you're still alive, and that you are not in harm's way. So take all of the other stereotypical things out of yoga and that you've seen if you've never tried yoga or just flat out meditation. Yoga being the flexing and relaxing of muscles, being in different positions, being connected by really being in tune with what your body is doing, and just meditation being in direct contact with where your mind is. Okay. I don't do yoga, not yet. I'd be willing to try it. But where I live right now, in the situations that we're in, that's probably not going. And I'm not going to do it without direction. I'm not just going to YouTube it and end up doing it wrong. So, anyway, mindfulness, just making sure that you are repeating to yourself that you're alive, you're breathing. You can focus on what your breathing is doing. You can focus on what your heart is doing, and realize that whatever this triggering event is, it's not happening right now. And you are, you're fine. Oh, wait. Have the Rebel in Twitch, which is my daughter. Good morning. Don't know how long you've been listening, but I was trying to explain part of the panic response and how to kind of ground yourself in the here and now. Okay. So that, like I said, your bodies only have so many different on and off switches, where your brain has an infinite, number of connections. It can have different responses. Your body can only do so much, and so it's intermingles the fight or flight in several different emotional responses. So, as far as being able to go through the anxiety response and getting out in the public and moving around, there are some ways that if you're afraid to go out, if you're afraid to be in crowds, you can set small goals for yourself. Like, okay, I'm going to walk from my house to the park bench I know it's 2 blocks away. I'm going to sit on that park bench for 5 minutes. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to relax. And then I'm going to see how I feel. And I know that I'm only 2 minutes away from my house. I can walk back to my house. I can sit down. I can relax again. I can focus on my breathing, focus on my heart rate, and then move on. If the table starts moving, I have